speak to your future self in 3 to 5 years' time and get advice from them about what you need to let go of in order to reach your goals. And future Jacqui said I had to let go of my business.
Hey everybody, I am Ben Weiss, and we are with Humans of Flippa. Today I'm chatting with Jacqui, who's a user of Flippa, sold a publishing company a little while back, and we're just going to talk today, get an understanding of kind of who she is and what brought her to Flippa, and what kind of success she had, and maybe what she's doing right now. So Jacqui, thank you for joining today. How you going?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing very well, thank you.
So yeah, it looks like you had a writing publishing company, been around for about 7 years. So yeah, if you want to just tell me a little bit about kind of how that came to be, if it was a side project or how you started that, that'd be great.
Sure. So my business still is called, but I'm getting messed up with tenses because like it was my business, but it still exists. So I don't know whether to use past or present tense.
You know, we should
Anyway.
actually talk about that. That's an interesting thing. That's actually, let's start there. Why not? Let's get to the business later. How does it feel to have a business that you sold that still exists and isn't yours?
It's strange in a lot of ways because I still get people contacting me on LinkedIn or Facebook going, "Oh, my book's finally ready. Can you help?" And I sort of need to go, "Well, no, I can't, but the team's still there. It's being run by this great new guy, so let me connect you with him." I think that one of the best things about having sold it rather than wrapping up the business is that when people come to me, I do have somewhere to send them. And I know that most of the team is the team I hired and trained. So they're getting the exact same service and the exact same quality they would have gotten when I was running the show. I suppose the bit that's a little bit bittersweet is sometimes like someone in the team might, like the new owner, in fact, he's writing a book and he contacted me to see if he could incorporate some of like my IP in the book. And I sort of read it and went, "Oh, that's mine, but it's not mine anymore." So I still fundamentally think that selling it was the right decision. I was ready to move on, but there are sometimes those little bits where I go, "Oh, it's my baby is like gone off into the world and is independent now."
Yeah, that must be really odd. So now let's backtrack a little bit. Tell me a bit about the business itself, because it was around for about 7 years, maybe more than 7 years when you sold it. So like,
Yeah.
there was obviously a real history there. So kind of how did it start and what was the evolution?
Yeah. So Grammar Factory is a publishing company for entrepreneurs, and today it takes people who either have an idea that they want to turn into a book or they have a very messy Word document that they want to turn into a book. And if they've got an idea, the team can extract the knowledge from their heads and write the book for them, design it, print it, distribute it. If they have the messy Word document, the team will fix it and then go through the same steps. So they'll turn the messy Word document into a book and design, print, and so on. When I started, it was actually I'd been thinking about starting a business for over a year at that stage, and I was working professionally as a copywriter, and I happened to join a business incubator which encouraged everyone to write and self-publish a book. So I was a writer in a room of 50 people who weren't writers who had to write a book, and I said, "Well, I can help." So I didn't even have a business when I started this program, but I knew I wanted to. And then it was just, I was in the right place at the right time. So I got my first handful of clients from that group who referred some more clients.
Huh.
And it started as me editing on the side of my corporate job. I quit the corporate job in 6 months. And then about another year after that, I started hiring people. And we moved from me being a little freelance editor to having a team that did the end-to-end publishing process.
That's incredible. So were you hiring, as I guess are commonly called like virtual assistants, or were these actual kind of local people that you're working with? How was that? Was this like,
They
how much of
so
like
I
a real
originally
team was
started by I originally started with hiring editors because I needed like help with the workload. So I started with hiring editors and then got an assistant and then expanded to designers and then had a partnership with a local printer and distributor. So yeah, a
this?
bit of both.
That was a legit. So that's pretty interesting. And you're running for 7 years, and I've got to know, like, what after that amount of time led you to say it's time to move on? It's time to sell this to somebody else.
It was a bit random actually. So I went to an event run by Mind Valley, which is like this personal development group. They do a lot of online courses and they have an event once a year called A Fest. And I'd been thinking about going for years, but I lived in Australia at the time, and it's very hard to go places from Australia because it's so far from everything. And this event, it was 2019, and I happened to be living in Europe at the time. I still am, and they were running it in Europe. And I thought, okay, well, now, like, there's no excuses anymore. I can get there in 5 hours. I'm going. And the theme of the event was expand your influence. And I thought, perfect, I'm going to find all of these people who want to write books to expand their influence. It's going to be great for business. And then on day 2 of this event, we did a journaling exercise, which I think was called You Journaling. And it takes you through like 18 different steps. And one of the steps is thinking about where you want to be in 3 to 5 years. And where I wanted to be was writing fiction and traveling full time. And then you need to like take sort of I think it's called a helicopter perspective of your life, that you're stepping back and looking at your life and going, okay, what doesn't work? And then you need to speak to your future self in 3 to 5 years' time and get advice from them about what you need to let go of in order to reach your goals. And future Jacqui said I had to let go of my business. And I was like, this was not why I came to this event. Like, why are you telling me this? So that was a surprise, but I sat with it for a few days. I basically spoke to everyone at the event about how this had happened, and I wasn't sure what to do. And at the end of a couple of days, I realized that no, it was actually the right path. I'd been a little bit not wishy-washy on the business. I still loved the business and the team, but my attention was straying. Like, there were other things I wanted to work on, and I found that I couldn't work on them because even though I wasn't spending that much time on the business anymore, it was still quite mentally consuming. And like, in my downtime, my brain was naturally going, okay, how can we grow it? How can we do this better? And that didn't leave a lot of creative energy for my own writing, which is what I really wanted to be doing. So I had this surprise revelation and thought, okay, well, I'm just going to wrap things up. And then someone else at the event actually said, well, you've got this thing you've built. You've got 6 years of history at that stage. You've worked with 200 clients. You have like projects in process. Why don't you consider selling it? And I went, oh, someone would buy? Like, I didn't think this was the sort of business people would buy because it's so dependent on me and the team. So it was, yeah, this really interesting series of events where I did this exercise, I spoke to the right person, and then when I got back to Estonia, I had a coffee with a friend who's also a small business owner, and he mentioned Flippa to me.
Huh.
So
I guess we
yeah,
can thank him.
and listed it on Flippa, and then the person who ended up buying the business actually contacted me very quickly. I think it was within a couple of weeks of me listing it.
Wow. And it sounds like you still have at least some sort of working relationship with him a little bit. I mean, it must have been tough to, you want to sell this to the right person, I imagine, after 6, 7 years. This isn't something you developed and 2 weeks
Yeah.
later you're getting rid of it. So, was it important to kind of find someone who actually wanted to treat this with respect and keep it going?
Yeah, absolutely. I think because there are a lot of like these self-publishing companies out there where someone can just pay a chunk of money and they will print whatever you send them. And we were never that type of company. We always thought, well, we're working with entrepreneurs who are writing books to boost their business. And in order for the book to do that, it needs to be a good book. It needs to demonstrate their knowledge. It also needs to demonstrate the quality of their work. Because if you see, like, let's say there's someone you really want to work with and they've written a book and you open the book and it's crap, like, you're probably not going to think as much of them or be as enthusiastic about working with them after that.
Absolutely.
So we always put so much work into making these books good. Sometimes our clients probably were a little bit frustrated with us with how much work we were making them do, but there was always this focus on quality. And I really wanted to make sure whoever took it over was going to uphold that. And then the other thing was, I've obviously wanted someone who was going to take really good care of the team because we were like a little family.
Yeah.
So I was very lucky that basically the first serious person who contacted me, he'd been looking to get into publishing for a while at this stage. He saw Grammar Factory and thought it was a great match. And as soon as we started talking and I explained my concerns, he was very, very open to doing a really thorough handover, to getting training, to meeting with all of the team members before we signed anything. So it was a great experience.
Yeah, that's really cool to hear. I like how that transitions over, and I think the most interesting thing out of that is just you're like a lot of people where you have a relatively small business. You're not Facebook, you're not Instagram. And
Not
yeah,
yet.
and yeah, well, and as you said, when you have a small business and a small team, it is really dependent on you. So I think there's a lot of people
Yeah.
out there that say, well, who on earth would want to buy this? This
Mhm.
isn't worth $20 million, $50 million. This is just a small little lifestyle thing. But there's a lot of opportunity out there, and it's pretty cool for someone to be able to get to leave and not just shut down their business and actually make a little bit of money at the end. So I am curious. I know we're obviously in kind of an interesting moment in human history right now, but
Yes.
what is your life like now? Have you started another business? Are you writing?
Um,
What's going on?
so my plan before 2020 became 2020 was my plan was originally to quit my job because I was also working at the same time as running the business. So I was going to quit my job. I was going to go traveling and take 1 or 2 years off to write fiction. And this was the plan. I actually started writing fiction again last year as soon as I let the business go. So I've got a book that's just come back from beta readers, which is really exciting. But the travel didn't happen because instead coronavirus happened.
Yes.
So what I ended up doing was I um, switched my jobs. So I ended up getting a job at a Swiss startup, which is awesome, actually. I'm so lucky. So how do I explain it? Like, I really wanted to quit my work and write full time and travel. And I didn't want to write full time and be stuck in Estonia, like,
Right.
because I like Estonia, but it gets very dark for a lot of the year. And it's not the most, like, at the moment, it's coming into winter. It's very cold. It's not like you can go out and wander as easily as you could back in summer. So I thought, well, I should keep working just so I don't go insane, so I still have human contact, but I didn't want to be trapped in the corporate job that I had. And the good thing about the sale of the business was it meant that I was free to sort of pick a job that was a really good fit for me rather than going, okay, well, it needs to meet this salary requirement, it needs to do this, this, and this. So I was lucky to find something that did meet the salary requirements anyway, but I could be flexible when we got to the negotiating part. And it's a startup, so I still get to have like those small business vibes without it being totally my responsibility. And it's, yeah, I'm in a place where it's a really good balance because I get sort of the small business energy, the really fast pace, working in an exciting industry because it's crypto. And at the same time, it's not mine. So it means I can put it down at the end of the day. And then I've got all this mental freedom where I can write and work on my stories and these worlds I'm building. And the good thing about the sale is like, the money isn't going anywhere. It's sitting in an account, earning interest, and in 6 months or 12 months or whenever we have a vaccine and can move again, I can still take those 1 or 2 years off and go traveling.
Yeah, that's great. I like the idea of just being able to. I think it's people always wonder, why are you selling something that's making money, and
Mm.
I think there's a lot of reasons, and obviously your goal is maybe the timeline shifted a little bit, but at least to
Yeah.
be able to a little bit less stress in your life right now
Yes,
because you're not
absolutely.
100% involved. So that'll bring me to my final question for you. I actually like asking this to everybody, and I think I'll phrase this maybe even as a future question for you, because the question I like to ask, what does the perfect day for Jacqui look like? But maybe it's, what does the perfect day look like a year from now when life's back to normal?
um, so I'd still wake up early because I naturally wake up quite early, but I'd wake up early, read. They, to be honest, it's not that different from now if I think about it, other than the job's replaced by travel. But wake up early, spend some time reading, stretching, then sit down to write. And writing work could mean brainstorming, plotting, drafting, revising. There are a lot of different activities. I would write for maybe an hour or two, and then by that point, the world's probably woken up. So then I can go out and explore whichever city or country I'm in for a few hours, see a museum, maybe if I'm traveling, like if I'm meeting someone somewhere, because I do have friends in different parts of the world, like meet someone for a coffee, um, take a break for lunch, maybe jot down some more ideas, then explore the city again, just wander, and then, I don't know, catch a show or a concert in the evening.
It sounds pretty good to me. It's just a life of freedom. I like it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I mean, I'm glad you glad you joined me today. I'm glad you found some success on Flippa, and I think people will find it inspiring to kind of hear your path. And then, we'll have to remain in touch because it sounds like you have a novel that might be ready to go. So maybe
Fingers crossed.
we can link to the Kindle version or something like that once it's ready to go, so people can find it in
Absolutely.
Flippa. So thank you so much.
Thank you. This was so much fun.